Hello, everyone. This is Bonnie Faye. And the goal of this talk in the middle of the day and the hecticness is just to take time and pause and reflect on what we have done and the reason and what it is that we've done and why. That's it. I hope to keep this in to 15 minutes. I just did a 35-minute and I just went, oh God, I got to get rid of that. Save your soul. Anyway, uh, as a speaker, as a public speaker, I tend to go global and then I turn it all the way around with a turnabout. That's the kind of speaker I am. So I hope I don't go global on you because I'll start adding all these things. I have just spoke with one of you yesterday. I spoke with 3 of you. The day before that, I spoke with 2 of you. And all of our conversations are different. Each and every one of us are in different places. And for some of you, this might even be review because you've already done it. And some of you are going, I'm still lost, I'm still lost. And there's a couple of you who are still learning how to use Slack. So I invite you to reach out to the community. We had a phenomenal workshop. We had a phenomenal conference board, mentorship, boardroom discussion that for us, it really cemented us. It was day and night from the first group to the second group. And all of us, or all of the comments that I have received, and if you feel differently, please do get back to me and say, that wasn't my experience, I'm sorry, because I would like to know that as well. But I have heard nothing but absolute positive and heartfelt comments. Thank you. That group meant just as much to me too. So today, what am I doing? I want to focus in on what is our homework, what have we been doing, why are we doing what we are doing, and let's discuss that. The very first thing, let's just get right into it so I can make this short for you. The very first thing that we did was after you archived a tape. Now that was important. You can only do that if you've done it. You can't go back to that. If you want to have a tape that you have from the past and you want to send it to me saying I didn't do that, but I want to hold this old tape, that's fine. The reason why is because even from March to July, you've done some growth. So you can't do that tape now because of all of the growth. So the very first thing is we sent me a tape to archive, put aside. That's your previous work. Then we got into an article, which was in 2 phases. Frozen Paper, Shelley Lawrence, ASL Narratives in Explanation, and that was from another mentoring group that puts out videotapes. And he did one on the 7 ASL expansions. It was awesome. So that was for you. That was an introductory for me to give you focus on work, focus on vernacular, focus on how are we talking about the work, focus on not only expanding the points, but what are the words that we use to talk about expanding the points, our articulation, how are we building our articulation. And I think your articulation discussing the work has become more professional because we're using terminology from those 2 articles. I call them both articles, even though one's in video. The second thing from there, what we did is you were to take any video, one video. You didn't have to touch every single expansion. It was nice if you did. I didn't need 50 videos. I didn't even need 4 videos. 2 max would have been nice because then I was jumping around too much. And I really have to conserve how much time I spend on all the things that I would love to spend on. So it was basically to look at a video, one really cool video that you enjoyed, and notice in the different points where they did expansion. And as they did that expansion, why? What was the important point at that time did they choose that expansion? So it's not only us becoming aware of, oh, look, they did an expansion, but why did they choose that expansion? And when we get into our work of reflecting on the work, it kind of expands our consciousness so that we can open up to other ideas. So that was me working on you to expand. And Jasmine, I'm sorry, I'm trying to talk without moving my hands or using my hands, and I don't know how to do that. I've been trying. So this camera is also focusing in and out because I'm using my hands. From that 2 articles, from there we went to the timed the noticing. When you noticed it, you had to give me the timestamp so I could say, yes, I agree, wait a minute. And what happened often with this first video is you showed me ASL narratives, not so much expansion on a lot of them. So that was interesting. So many of us got into a discussion about the difference between ASL narrative and expansion. And we could have only had that conversation if you had given me the paperwork, we took time, and we noticed what we did. And a lot of that happened by saying, when are you available? I'd like to make an appointment. So those that did, we had communication with. I have had this conversation with many times with my 4 mentee tribe that I've been working with for over 2 years. If I'm not available, they're available. And they each talk about it differently, as you talk about it differently. So you have 3 avenues of learning. You have me, and I enjoy talking with you. You have the mentee tribe, and they've got some vernacular that is really interesting to listen to. And then you've got each other. So there's not just Bonnie didn't give me enough, it's how much you put into this group and how much you get to know each other. And we've already had some come together, reunite, some come together. It's just been a very interesting hearing your stories. So go back to the work, Bonnie. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. So we had the 2 articles. Did you read them? Did you get into them? Did you more than just touch, 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 finish, touch, 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 finish? I want to make sure that this is an evolving language. So these 2 articles can be read again and again and be understood differently each and every time you read it. That's my experience. Then the time markers allows our conversation to begin. Then you create. And what happened with you creating a sentence and using expansion, the very first time we did this, and I love misunderstandings. I love misunderstandings because then that's like, oh, that's what we understand. Let's move on and do it again so we can understand it differently. We're trying to do too much with our work. Expansion is not increase, 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 increase the signs and let me add more. It's hold on. What can I clarify with simplicity? That's expansions. So I got a lot of sentences that were very complex and had all of the expansions in them, and it was too much. I know you're great interpreters. It was too much. So then we came down to the next thing is we refined this, and we came into 7 sentences, simple, simple sentences, the same 7 sentences with the expansion, the different expansions. And what that provided you was the awareness of, did it give you a different story? Did it give you a different focus? What did that expansion do? So that came in the conversation again we had, and notice our conversation was elevated because now we're using professional vernacular, but we're also using talk about the work instead of talk about I can't. So then we moved from the 2 articles, from the videotape, a deaf videotape, noting where they're doing the timestamp. And my workshop on July 29th is going to be a lot about that. Where do we go to get the videos? How do we use videos? And it's just going to be a study group, not me lecture or anything like that on the 29th. That's going to happen. The lecture is going to happen on the 5th, lecturing on listening. But back to the point. So I have the 2 articles. I'm repeating myself because sometimes it still gets confusing, and I got to let you know that there is specifics here. We got the 2 articles. They're in our homework channel. Then we go to, you send me information. You can send it to me in the boardroom so everybody can see, or you send it to me in the private channel groups. That's up to you. Private is fine by me. Then from there, also from the timestamp to the 1 sentence, we're not going to do that 1 sentence, we're going to do the 7. Those 7 little sentences that show me you know the expansion that we worked on the first 2 homework assignments. Then from there, we get into a discussion, and we've got to have this discussion because something else is happening. I can't give that to you, but I will give you the next. This is dependent upon where you are. This is us chatting. But the next thing is you're going to be given a 20-minute video. I don't care if it is NPR, TED Talks, a funny conversation, an English lecture, podcast Hidden Brain. I don't care, but it has to be 20 minutes. I don't think you want to go any longer than that. In that 20 minutes, you're going to have some great work, not so great work, great work, not so great work. But within that 20 minutes, what you tend to do will come up. And that's what you want to see. The other part is you're going to see some strengths. You're going to see an opportunity to expand, and I hope you do. You're going to see some opportunities for expansion using the opportunities like Lou Font talked about. Are we focusing on our area? Are we focusing on our direction? Are we focusing on what are we focusing on when we're interpreting? 5 minute, 10 minute, we can fake. 20 minute, we can't fake. That's when our brain really gets into it. That also, when our brain does get into it, opens up for a better rendition. So, did you get everything that I said? This is where we're at in our homework. These are what we have had to do with our homework. I'm very impressed with each and every one of you. I've had some very moving moments with each and every one of you, and I look forward to more. Thank you. You have a nice day.